What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome into the Wednesday Linc Live. You'll notice that for a moment, I am by myself. Josh Davis is coming. He is on his way. And so we will, of course, be having him join us very shortly. We'll throw him up on the screen as soon as he goes ahead and joins. But again, it'll be shortly. It'll be just a couple of minutes away. So lock in, hit the thumbs up button, and we get started here breaking down everything happening with the Philadelphia Eagles here on a Wednesday, and obviously answering your questions. By the main reason we do this show is that you guys got Eagle questions. We don't answer them in every single live show or every single normally a scheduled show during the week that Josh and I do. And so we like to have fun, get you guys here and go ahead and hang out and have a blast as people start to go ahead and pile in. Donatello Dragon, Cool Reigns, Brad is in here as well. Alfonso Gudia, he's jumping in as we get started here. Waiting on everyone to go ahead and join in. And, of course, for Josh Davis to jump in here in a second. George is checking in from California. What's up, George? Everybody get here. Looks like everyone's on time. Frankie says, let's go. Roxy's ready for the start of the season. Nicholas Walker says, get 500 on here. We've had Philly 500 on, maybe not a Wednesday Linc, but on my show, I've done some lives with him as well. We will in the future. It's the off season, right? You got to get a little bit closer to training camp. Speaking of which, the NFL training camp season is literally 3 weeks away. July 25th, is the official start date, and it's July 5th. We're 20 days away from the Eagles reporting. Now, you got to remember, just because it's day one of training camp doesn't mean that you're actually going to have any sort of big storylines. They're going to report to camp. They're going to get all set up and then go through a couple of light conditioning practices and then put the pads on, and things are going to start to get very, very exciting. Josh is getting ready to hop in here. He'll give me the thumbs up when he's ready. Make sure his microphone is set to the right setting as well. We bring him in. There he is. Josh Davis, right on time. What's up, Josh?
What's up? Yeah, sure. We're about right on time. Almost. Not quite, but I appreciate it. How are you doing?
A minute late. It's not bad. I'm doing well. It looks like just a busy day, huh?
Little bit, yeah. It's just getting back from 4th of July holiday. I'm normally used to saying weekend, but it was weird that it fell on a Tuesday. So hopefully everyone that celebrated had a great 4th of July day and had some great food and fireworks. And thankfully we got the Nathan's hot dog eating contest because I didn't know if we were actually going to see that. But yeah, hope it was great.
There you go. Yeah, it was weird having to work on Monday and then not work on Tuesday. I don't know what you did Monday, but I did have to work, so it was a little bit.
The week feels
weird,
so
right?
off. It feels like a Monday, but thankfully it's a Wednesday, and happy to be here. So it makes for a shorter week.
Drake 2 says Golden Era is here. Maisie is in. He says, hey, everybody. Grind Time says great content. Welcome everybody in right now. Sports Wrap, Philly Sports Wrap. What's up? What's up, man? How's it going? Everyone jumping in here. Interesting week in terms of the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, we are, as I said before you jumped on, about 3 weeks away from having real things to talk about, right? Right now it's talking head stuff, or it's people, wanting to puff themselves up a little bit. Devon Allen was in the news a bunch this week, which I thought was very interesting. Yeah. I'm not saying it's his fault, but he had a 7-minute interview at TMZ earlier this week and basically said he's the fastest player in the National Football League, which is probably true. But as I talked about on my show today, like, what does it matter how fast you are? Plenty of receivers are fast. Can you actually run routes and make a roster? And I came to the conclusion, I don't think he's going to. I don't see Devon Allen making this roster.
Yeah, I don't either. I agree with you. And I know some people also, you make the point of, can he run routes or can he return punts, or kick returns because with the speed. But, I think we've said it many times. It's not necessarily translating like mad. You don't just get the guy with 99 speed and put him back there to catch the ball. So, it'd be cool. It'd be an awesome thing if it actually works. But hurdles is one thing, and then actually trying to dodge and miss players is a different story. So I don't think that he will. It'd be great if he can. Don't get me wrong. He's got a lot of potential in terms of that speed, and speed kills, but I'm with you. I mean, there's a lot of depth. How many receivers do we have right now? It's like, 9 or 10 going into camp?
It's a pretty big number. I mean,
it's a lot that he's going to have to beat out to get top 5 or 6 that are going to be carried there. I think it's a very much of an uphill battle.
And with the receivers on the roster, some teams, if they're a weaker receiver, they'll carry 6 up to 7 on the actual 53. Philly is going to carry most likely 5 and maybe 6, but with the new practice squad rules that put into place last year, they can definitely, flex people as you will. You have obviously 3 that are a lock. Brown, Smith, I feel like Watkins is. Zacchaeus is a lock as well. They gave him enough money. So you have 4 slots that are taken, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. They have 9 on the roster battling for 1, maybe 2 spots, right? So most of us would assume Covey makes it because Covey is going to be the main punt returner, right? But then you have all these dark horses like Rambo and Ngata and Greg Ward. Maybe he shines once again like he used to do with Carson Wentz, but it's a long shot. The good news is, though, the starting wide receivers, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, are going to play like one series in the entire preseason. So you're going to have the rest of the starters, the rest of the guys get starter reps at least, at least, in terms of rep wise. It's not starting with the starter, actual quarterback, but you get my point. So there are going to be some opportunities. And if Devon Allen, he did catch a touchdown in last year's preseason game and kind of showed off that speed, catch a couple of them, you have one of those breakout preseason games, then who knows? It could happen, but it's a long shot. It's a long shot.
Possibility. Good luck to him. But yeah, to your point there, there's so many that he's going up against. And when you talk about like the potential of some of the other just, pure route runners, like guys who have been doing it for a long time, I don't know. I would not take that bet. I don't know if there is a bet to do it, but I would steer clear of that one.
Almost all of them have a lot more NFL experience as well. I mean, Covey now has NFL experience. Ward has NFL experience. Zacchaeus has a ton of it. I mean, and God and Rambo were more actual receivers at their respected schools. And what was it? Oklahoma and it was it Clemson. That's right. Yeah. They played in some bigger games than what Devon Allen did.
And a couple know Jalen Hurts or have Oregon, kind of the similar connection with Jaden Hasselwood. And I mean, there's just connections there all over the place too. So I don't know. What do you do?
Tyler Wall says, what's up, everybody? Tyler checking in. Stephen J. Patton, he said, what's up, brothers? Mohammed says, go Birds.
What's up?
Frankie, Devon has to understand the difference between being fast and playing football fast. Very true. Although I'm sure he's working at it. The problem is that Eagle fans I see on Twitter, as we kind of cycle away from Devon Allen here, but one final thought. We see him talk about all this Olympic hurdles and, he just finished fourth in this race and that race. And so in our minds, all we see him is running track, and we don't see him actually working on football, which I'm sure he is on the in reality. So we think, he's focused on track too much. I got that comment a lot. He's too focused on track. I'm sure he's working out and trying to make this roster as hard as he can, because the future is probably a little bit brighter in football versus Olympic track. But same time, it'd be nice to see some route running there, which we will get when you actually get to training camp. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Andrea says, hi, Thomas and Josh. Our weekly update, Josh, of the
What's up? Yes, the jerseys that
they still have not shipped.
I mean, I was going to ask if you got a notification. I still haven't. So it's every single week. And I mean, for full transparency too, I also ordered my own Nolan Smith, and that has not. So it's not like it's, y'all's in particular. It's everyone's, or at least ours. So one of these days they'll ship it. I don't know why it's taking so long.
There was some interesting stuff. I saw a lot of people talking about Milton Williams and Jordan Davis. I did Davis today on my show. You did Milton Williams, I think, yesterday or the day before. The expectations for those two, some people, it feels like it's sky high. Like people are expecting 7 sacks from Jordan Davis and Milton Williams to be like Javon Hargrave light. I don't know what it is. And some people, I think, kind of forget about him because Jalen Carter exists and Fletcher Cox was still very dominant last year despite being his age. Are you more on the Milton Williams, Jordan Davis are going to shock people train, or Milton Williams and Jordan Davis are going to be better than they were last year train? Because there's a big difference between being better and shocking people on an already crowded defensive tackle group.
Yeah, that's a good question. And to put me on the spot like that too. So I at this point here, I don't know that they're going to shock anyone, and maybe what you were alluding to, but I think it's the fact that they're not going to get enough snaps to shock someone. It's just so much of a rotational battle there. I think that they're going to have great seasons, and I think they're going to do much better. And especially, like you mentioned, whenever I was talking on my show about Milton Williams, his production went up last season, but his snaps actually went down. So you give him a bigger role. Like, I'm excited to see what he can do, because he's an athletic freak, and we have a lot of those guys on the D line and on the defensive period. But like, if he gets extra snaps or more snaps this season, yeah, I could see him having a great year. It's just, it comes down to how many is he going to have? And we have so much talent. That's where I'm like, I don't know where I do that fine line of like, they're just shocking everyone and going crazy, but I think they're definitely going to take a step up for sure. That's probably where I would lean toward. I mean, are you thinking differently, or you see them kind of about the same lines?
No, I agree. I think, Cool Range just said, I see Davis getting 5 sacks. I think that's kind of the ceiling. If he got more than 5 sacks, then we're really breaking out.
I think 5 would be great.
That, 5. I mean, 5 for either of them would be huge. I think the problem with defensive tackle is we don't see them, pay off a lot on TV because they're not getting sacks. We're not seeing them swallow holes and then making running backs bounce outside who get instantly tackled by defensive ends. They do a lot of the grit work that we just don't even really highlight. It used to be centers weren't really highlighted, and then you got all these athletic centers like Creed Humphrey and obviously Jason Kelsey, and now they'll get their love on national broadcast being circled as they pull out and move around and stuff like that. But in the end, I don't know if we're going to get enough screen time and enough highlights to make Eagle fans go, wow, what a jump. But when you actually put the tape on and you think about these things, maybe it's a little bit better than what it is. But yeah, I mean, this is still going to be a very high-performing defensive line. Will it get 70-plus sacks? I don't know. 70 sacks is a lot. They played some bad quarterbacks last year. They got a tougher schedule, better offensive lines they're going up against. I think anything over 60 is still very possible, and also a massive year. I mean, that's still pretty good.
That's huge. Yeah. It's hard whenever you set the bar at 70 and then you go back and you're like, oh, okay, maybe we take a little bit of set down, but I'm with you. I don't think that we're going to get to 70. If we do, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm not just saying like, I don't want that to happen, obviously, but yeah, to your point, it's like with the quarterbacks that we play, you see it with better quarterbacks. Like even if their line is banged up, and we've seen with Joe Burrow and guys like that, but you just get the ball out quicker. The game plan changes. And so you're not going to be able to allow your quarterback to be in the pocket to get hit a lot. And so there's not as many sack opportunities. Plus, if you don't play Carson Wentz, you don't get 9 sacks. So there's also that.
That's
but
a good point.
It matters what quarterback you play. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't think it'll be that production. But again, like interior defensive linemen especially, and it probably goes for all D linemen, but like year 3 is really a lot of times that big step. It's like rookie season, you're kind of figuring out. Second year, sometimes you see this step, but it's that third season usually. And so that's where Milton Williams is. Like, do we see that big step up? And again, it comes back to how many snaps do you see him play? So if it was anyone where we're talking about just sack totals, I think it would be him to not get at the level of the Javon Hargrave, but replace a lot of that. And you still got Jalen Carter there too. So question will be, how much of an impact can he make as a rookie? I think he'll be good. I think he'll be really good, but Milton Williams may surprise a little bit if he gets a little more snaps than what he has previously. So we'll have to see.
Philly Sports Wrap says, do you all feel that if we get 10 to 17 sacks from Milton, Davis, and Carter, a success from the Eagles defensive tackles? I think the 3 of them could get 10. 17 would be quite the number, though. I mean, we're talking about 6 apiece, basically. I mean, yeah, 10 is necessary. And you'd expect Carter to be the leader in the clubhouse because he's the best pass rusher of those 3 defensive tackles. But
right. Yes. And I think Carter's over under number. It was like at 5 and then it went up to like 6. I think it's like 5.5 ish. Okay. So if you figure, he's right around that number, then basically you're saying, what, can you get a couple from Milton, a couple from JD, and then you're at 10 already. So I think so. I see us. I mean, I would say we could get 15. I really do. I think 15 is pretty doable because if you get 6, I'd say from Jalen, you get Milton had 4 last season. So, you get roughly in that same number, 4 or 5, you're up to 11 and then a couple from JD. I mean, you're not too far off. So I think 15 is pretty doable.
Yeah, you got to also remember about Jordan Davis with the sack numbers. Not playing a lot of pass rushing downs because they have all these other pass rushers, right? They'd rather play Milton Williams or Jalen Carter or Fletcher Cox on 3rd down and 10 versus Jordan Davis. But we'll see if his reps numbers go up because he earns them. That's kind of the rotational defensive line philosophy. Okay, over here to a couple of entries into the ticket giveaway. David Moore became a member. I think that's 2. We'll give him 2 entries for becoming a member. Normally it's, $1 is 1 entry. So depending on how much your super chat is the entries into our ticket giveaway. If you're new here, we're giving away 2 tickets, a pair of tickets to any Eagles regular season game of your choice. We're going to pick the winner sometime during the preseason, during one of our live shows then. And then you pick, and we send you to an Eagle regular season game. So if you want to enter, now is your chance. Just be subscribed to both my channel and Josh's channel and drop that super chat. I got to do some maintenance here, though. We had a super chat from Shane Baker, 2 entries after our live show last week. I got a new notification. So Shane Baker gets 2 more. And Vanny, who is another jersey winner, obviously still waiting to get his. They haven't shipped yet. He did a $2 super thanks as well. So make sure we got Shane Baker's 2 entries and Vanny's 2 entries into the jersey giveaway. And of course, David Moore becoming a member. David, we appreciate that. So awesome. Still plenty of time. Obviously, we'll go through training camp and some of preseason, but get your numbers in right now if you guys want to be a part of the ticket drawing, which will again be during a live show at some point during the preseason, probably during one of the preseason games, maybe the 3rd, maybe the 2nd, don't know. And then you'll tell us which game you want to go to. We'll get you 2 tickets and off you go. Or you want to see us. Just tickets, obviously, to the game. We're not paying for your flights because we don't make that much money.
If you could get yourself there, we're paying for the tickets.
There. Yeah,
and so, we may be at the same game. Who knows? Have we decided officially? Like we've talked about it, but haven't. Okay, not yet.
No,
we're figuring out.
Yet. I have other expenses right now that I am diligently working towards that I have to take care of first, and then I will work on which games we're going to. But
that is understandable.
The Dolphins game, we're obviously going to go to the Cowboy game because you live in Dallas, and that's an easy one for me to fly down to, and then us drive to Jerry World. And we talked about other ones, so you never know. Philly Sports Wrap wants to go to a game. He gets 5 entries into the ticket giveaway here. If you put a comment, Philly Sports Wrap, we'll throw your comment up as well. It's kind of the little hint there. But 5 entries is 5 entries. So jumping in on the ticket giveaway there. Welcome to, I think it's his first entry. So welcome to the giveaway. You never know. We had a bunch of entries for our draft jersey giveaway. We ended up giving away 3 because there were so many entries. It was just supposed to be 1. We had a bunch of fun there. So if you want to get on the ticket giveaway, I think probably a better overall, chances.
Probably.
A serious prize there.
You would think so. Yes. Yep. Yeah. But, we were having too much fun. We had to just give away a couple more. So you never know.
We were having a lot of fun on draft night. That is a very good point. Did you see the ESPN roster rankings that came out earlier this week? Did you see this one?
I don't know if I did. I've seen so many rankings now. I feel like I get lost between top O line, D line, whatever, but I may have missed that one.
I have to log into my ESPN Plus account here. That way I can show it to you. Give me 1 second. I want to pull up these rankings. Philadelphia, they were ranked second, and I don't know my ESPN Plus password. Okay, well, Philadelphia was ranked second, and I'm trying to figure out what the rest of it was. I know the Chiefs were number 1. Man, I got to pull it up now because now I have to Google ESPN roster rankings. I need someone who gets me past the paywall here.
That's always my issue. I've got
tough.
The password saved, and as soon as it resets on me, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I may have to just create a new account.
Nope, I can't seem to find the full list here at all. Nope, I don't have the... Oh, wait. Yes, I do. Here we go. A Commanders USA Today website saves the day. Boom. All right. Chiefs. All right, so tell me what you think about this. This is roster, and they say this is not accounting for coaching, right? So this is just looking at rosters and just looking at the actual players on the 53. Chiefs 1, Eagles 2, Bills, Dolphins, Bengals, Cowboys, Chargers, Niners, and then Browns, and then finally throw it up here with Jets. Couple of thoughts here. 1, if you were to take away the Mahomes factor, like you take Jalen Hurts and Mahomes off of the top 2 teams, Chiefs and Eagles, the Eagles roster is better than the Chiefs, but the Mahomes factor elevates that roster, and sure, you can make that argument, but I think overall, quarterbacks removed, it gets a little bit different. Okay, after that, though, the other takeaway is the Niners. This is one of the few rankings I've seen that don't put the Niners as one of the top 3 rosters in the National Football League. And it feels right because they don't have a quarterback. This clearly is showing you quarterback-heavy rosters, Chiefs, Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Bengals, are the best rosters, obviously with other people on there as well. And great rosters without good quarterbacks slide a little bit, hence why the Dallas Cowboys are 6 and why the Ravens are 11 and why the Broncos go down to 13. To me, this is a pretty accurate list.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. It is surprising though. So yeah, I don't know that I'd seen this one before because to your point, like we've seen the Niners up there very high all the time. So they're saying, well, with whoever the quarterback is, that's hurting them quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I agree with it. I mean, it's an obvious fact to just state that a quarterback, it's quarterback league. Like if you don't have your quarterback, then good luck because you're not going to be able to do anything. So I agree with this list. It's a little bit interesting, and I wouldn't say that they're like overhyped, I guess, on this ranking, but the Dolphins at 4. Okay. I mean, I probably would have thought the Bengals would have been above them, but you could argue, I mean, they're close. The Dolphins have a ton of talent, but I don't know. Right. I mean, you just say from the recent bias of Joe Burrow versus Tua, I mean, he's, you just question like, okay, Tua performed pretty well, but then the concussions and all of this. So, but I'm okay with it. But yeah, just whenever you're looking at the 49ers, I think that's telling because a lot of people seem to be, I mean, not Eagles fans and other people, but a lot of analysts that I've seen are like, oh, Niners are the contender in the NFC. Like they just want to hate on the Eagles and say that's the team to beat. So for them to be 8, that's a little bit shocking. I haven't seen that too much.
Worst roster is the Cardinals. Should be a fun year for Jonathan Gannon. Rams are way down there. I've talked a little bit about how the Rams, I know how great the Rams or how interesting the Rams game could be early on for Philadelphia, but unless you're getting Matt Stafford MVP season, that should be a pretty easy win. Colts, Texans, Titans, Bucks, Falcons, Panthers, Commanders are 32 through 25. There was another USA article saying the Commanders are going to win the NFC East, and yet ESPN puts them in their place as the 24th best roster. So a little bit of a difference there. Giants, 18. They made improvements, but 18 is it's probably about right.
It's a far cry. I mean,
it's not up there. It's not that high. So, what are you going to do? Okay, a couple of more entries into the ticket giveaway here. I saw someone say, Rimo says, I'll be at the game in LA since I live here. Rams versus Birds on October 9th. Let's talk about that. That should be a fun game.
There you go.
Steven says, season ticket holder here. Winners win. Must be nice. The Eagles, I think there's a massive waiting queue to become an Eagles season ticket holder. It's not like you could just be like, oh, I have money. I'm going to go be an Eagles season ticket holder. It's not possible right now.
I wouldn't doubt
possible.
It. Yeah, it would be a long wait list.
would be a long wait list here. Let's get
Because the future's set. I mean, we've seen
That's
so
true.
many different acquisitions and all these draft picks, and Jalen signed for a long-term contract.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, if there wasn't a long season ticket holder list before, then yeah, good luck. So it'd take forever.
L Fence with 5 entries. I think it's his first time 49ers game. The Linc is going to be crazy. That'd be a good one. Be a good one to pick tickets up from if you were to win.
15,
you got 5 chances.
Got 15 actually now.
15 now. Okay, L Fence up to 15. That's pretty good. 15 chances to get in there. I know Donatello Dragon does the slow but steady entry method. 5 tonight, no real input. It's a slow off season. Thank you, Donatello Dragon, for acknowledging that.
Got you down for 34.
Very irritated with the Jalen Hurts disrespect. Happy Wednesday, BTW. Go Birds. There was something else that somebody said about Hurts earlier this week, and I forget what it was. I know what he's talking about, but now I forget what it was. Do you remember what it was? Wasn't there a slight of Jalen Hurts that I saw on Twitter somewhere? I don't remember.
Yeah.
It happens every week, but
I'm not sure because I know that there was a report of Jalen was actually one of like the top ranked MVP candidates. So that wasn't a dig at him, but then someone said something. Was it Micah who it resurfaced, right? But like that was a little bit old, but Micah had said like, he's basically Daniel Jones. So there was some disrespect there, but it's like, it's funny because it was like poetic justice. Like he said that. And then I want to say it was NFL.com that came out with a list, but like the top ranked MVP candidates, and Jalen Hurts made it on that list. He's also as their like official superstar, and Dak Prescott was the guy that he kicked out of that list. So it's always funny to see that. But again, they're just rankings and lists. I do agree. I mean, Donatello for sure. Like there's constant disrespect, whether it's Chris Sims, whether it's Micah, whoever it is that's going to be able to say like, it was a fluke, because that's an easy thing to say if you're going to knock it. Plus, it's the slow period of the offseason, so maybe that's why they're trying to get sound bites. But it does seem like it's, he played great for one season, but he probably won't do it, or can he do it again? And to a certain extent, that's a fair question. But I think what you and I have both said, and a lot of people have too, it's not like he just had a good regular season and the Birds lost in the first round of the playoffs, or they didn't even make playoffs, but he had a good year. They went all the way to the Super Bowl, and he played better than anyone ever. I mean, minus the fumble, his game was immaculate. And Jason Kelsey said it. He backed him up. He's got all the support from the team too. So, and even, Chris Sims, who's a hater, still said that Jalen Hurts is probably the best leader in the NFL. So, I mean, even if you're not going to say he's the best quarterback, just for him to say that, there's so much behind it, but there's always going to be haters, and that's what they seem to do with the Eagles, especially Jalen Hurts. So I don't know, but I'm with you. I'm tired of the disrespect.
5 more for Donatello Dragon. Got him down for the ticket giveaway. Listen, Jalen does have to back up this coming year. He can't be a third worse than where he was. Now, he could drop, 2 more touchdowns and throw a couple more picks and lose 1 or 2 more games, and you would still say he's elite. My big difference between him and someone like Carson Wentz's 2017 run pre-injury, if you go back and watch the Carson Wentz film, because they have, YouTube clips of every touchdown from Carson Wentz's, 2017 season, the guy had a lot of very fortunate passes, a lot of throws into traffic, a lot of somehow getting away from short sacks and still making crazy throws. It just, like, in the moment, it looked incredible. When you go back and watch it, it's like, But then you go to Jalen Hurts' highlights from 2022, it looks like elite, legit, long-lasting quarterback play, and that's why I think most of us believe it's not going to be a big problem. But he does still have to play well. I mean, geez, if
he does. He does.
8 and 9, and he stinks. He throws 20 picks. We're going to freak out. We will freak out in Philadelphia. Trust me, people will. But
and you know what? Hey, he gets a massive contract, so the haters are especially going to come out when that happens, because like, oh, hang on, he's not able to live up to it, or can he now? But yeah, like Remo and Tyler are saying, the most insecure comment. The weeks run together now, so I thought it was 2 weeks ago. Maybe it was last week. And again, I'm sorry, because it feels like a Monday because the 4th was yesterday and it's all thrown off. But yeah, that's another good point. That when that came out, it was like, and I think you did a show about it, but I'm like, are you kidding me? How ridiculous of a statement was that from? I couldn't even fathom. And again, he tried to say like, he doubled down on it. He's like, no, I meant what I said. And at first I was like, maybe he just misspoke, but no, watching the clip, and then he even doubled down on it. Was it Marcus? Marcus Hayes,
the Inquirer writer. Yeah. Listen, I think the Inquirer has some good stuff. And quickly, Jose gets 2 entries in here. What's up, Pink Cheese Green Ghost? I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means? I have no idea. I've never heard of that.
I do.
I don't know what that is.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, go Birds anyway. I like the last part of it. You get 2 entries. No, I mean, listen, the Marcus Hayes Inquirer article was vintage July NFL talk from a beat writer who no one really knows the name of, right? Unless you read the Inquirer on a daily basis. I'm not going to rip the Inquirer. Jeff McClain does incredible stuff at the Philadelphia Inquirer. I respect the hell out of the Philadelphia Inquirer. It's a great publication. We both will look at their articles from time to time. But the problem is, especially in a modern, or I was just going to say it, in the modern world, if you're a beat writer, you're not getting on your YouTube channel, you're not getting on, local TV, nobody knows your name. And so no one is ever really tweeting Marcus Harris and telling him, hey, what a crazy take on the Eagles in the paper, because the people that read the paper are like 90 years old and don't have Twitter. So, you want to stir the pot a little bit, maybe get your Twitter notifications blowing up a little bit here. A pretty good way to do it is take a shot at Jalen Hurts during the offseason when nothing else is happening. And mission accomplished. He did a good job of it, honestly, because we all talked about it. So congratulations.
He did. He went on Jacob Sports, and got his airtime. And I had to watch that clip too, though, because I was surprised also by, I think it was Jody Mack and John McMullen who were the ones interviewing him, and the lack of their response too. Like when he said that, I thought, like, I had to rewatch it again because I'm like, hang on, did they react to it? And there's stone face, which sometimes like you're just trying to cover for your interviewee, but I was still like, there's no reaction there, because there's no way if he had said that, I'd be like, are you serious? Like, and then try to did you mean what you said? But he did. He tweeted it out again. He's like, nope, for all those that are putting me on blast, like I meant what I said. And I think it's ridiculous because he's not insecure. Like we've seen from Jalen so many times, his interviews, his story, like just who the guy is. It's impossible, I feel like, to argue that Jalen is a breed of one. Jalen is super confident in himself, but that doesn't mean that you say, oh, I don't have any flaws. Like he knows he has flaws, but it's the motivation and the leadership in him that's saying like, well, yeah, I need to get better. Like the journey is never complete. The journey never ends. The work never stops. And so I don't know. It's an opinion, and to your point, he got a lot of views or clicks or whatever, but I was it got me a little fired up, as you can tell.
Pro Fan Talk says, Thomas, it was Marcus Hayes. What did I say? Did I say Harris?
I think you said Harris, yeah.
Hayes.
I knew I think we all knew what you meant.
And if you watch the interview, I didn't think it was a dig at all. No, we both did, and I did go back to Jacob Sports as well. And he kind of goes, he says the insecure line, which is just a terrible word to use, right? Now, he could have come back and been, I didn't mean insecure. I meant like chip on his shoulder. And we all would have gone, oh, yes, of course. But then he kind of said, well, he's really good, though. And so he tried to pad it a little bit, because you can't just openly rip, the Eagles star quarterback as a writer for the Inquirer. It's just not going to work. People are going to hate you for it. But the way that he doubled down on it was kind of the issue for me. Is like, no, I meant what I said. This is, insecure. Insecure is just a terrible word. No one thinks he's insecure. Insecure in what? In his ability to play football? No, that's gone out the window after this past season. It just doesn't make sense. But like we said, he got his 10 minutes of fame on Jacob Media, who puts a lot of people like that who don't normally get on camera time. They're not normally interviewed. They're the ones doing the interviewing. And it gets a little weird when you're on the other side of the camera and people are asking you questions about the Eagles instead of you asking them questions about the Eagles. And, slip up here, trying to become a little popular is what it is. We don't hate the guy. I'd love to have him on to talk about it. I mean, sure.
It would be interesting. Yeah. I'd just be curious because, again, like for people that, may not know me as well, like I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like I'm not going to just, oh man, okay, what's he going with? So I was trying to understand where he's coming from. When he first said it, I was like, oh man, that's not accurate, good choice of words there. But then he kept going on. So, okay, I guess I see what he means. And so I didn't react immediately, but then it's when he retweeted and he said, or he quote tweeted to some people that were putting him on blast and saying like, no, I legit meant insecure. And it's like, well, okay, you could have come back and said like, oh, maybe a poor choice of words there. But at that point, it's like the meaning of insecure, that Jalen is the furthest thing from insecure. He is very secure and confident in who he is. But again, that doesn't mean that he's not working and knows that he doesn't have flaws. But I don't know, for what it's worth, it got a lot of views. And again, it's the slower time of the offseason. So if this had been in the middle of the season, I don't think this would have even been said because there's too many topics to talk about. So it happens.
Big difference between being live on camera and being behind a computer writing a story days in advance. You got a lot of edit, a lot of copy and paste, a lot of Googling synonyms for words versus being on the spot, having to give yourself a hot take on Jalen Hurts. You throw the word insecure in there and the rest is history. So, oh, well, we don't hate you, Marcus Hayes. Come on our show. We'll talk about it. Alex wants to jump in. 10 entries in the jersey giveaway. Had to double up this week since I missed last week. Smart thing to do. The upcoming season, is this upcoming season not the most exciting season in a long time? So many players look forward to see playing. Yes, I would argue yes. Now, I remember being a kid back in What year was the dream team? Is that 11? I think it's 2011, maybe. What year was that? Because I would have been a freshman in high school, and I used to go like full on Dave Spadaro, PhiladelphiaEagle.com inside training camp live all off season. That's all I watched. And so I was all locked in. I watched, and they signed all these people, and I think it was 2011, whatever it was. You had to get Colin Jenkins,
it was
Jason Babin, and they had a running back in there as well. I think I forget who was on the dream team. I was so hyped. Nambi Asamoah, I was so hyped for that team, and then they crashed and burned. Now, I was very hyped for this previous season, but none of us were Super Bowl hyped, right? No one really believed you were going all the way with Jalen Hurts at Super Bowl this time last year. Truly, nobody believed. I don't even think the Eagles themselves truly knew the kind of talent that they had till things got started. This year, though, Alex is right, 100%. This is the most exciting prep for a season I think I've ever had in my 27 years on this earth, just because of the incredible roster that we have. There's always been Eagle rosters with holes. They were either weak at cornerback, or they were weak at wide receiver, or they had some running back who was a little bit injured and not that great, or quarterback questions. We've had those in the past. It's so different. It's so different this year. And while we must always remember injury bugs can hit, underachieving can hit, Super Bowl hangover can hit, it just feels like this year is different. I 100% agree with Alex.
I do too. For sure. Yeah, I was making sure because the years again blend together there. But yeah, that was it. And I think I'm hyped. Obviously, everyone's hyped. The season can't get here soon enough, but there's a different feel at the same time. It's like this level of excitement and anticipation, I think, is actually has surpassed that level, but it's a different mentality. You've got the different leaders in the room. And obviously, as Cheesesteak points out, whenever Young opened his mouth and just called it a dream team and said, this is it, that I hated it. It was like, okay, well, here you go, because you don't want those extra expectations. But now you don't even have to say it. Like the rest of the league is saying it for you. I mean, let's be honest, all the lists and everything else, granted, you're getting some disrespect for Jalen Hurts, but for on the average across the league, if you're not just saying Jalen Hurts, but the Eagles team, everybody's saying, oh, the Eagles are, one of the favorites, if not the favorite in the NFC to go back to the Super Bowl. Can it happen? Will it be a letdown year and all this other talk? So I think that everybody's waiting to see if and when the Eagles trip up. Like, I think they're building it up, going like, we'll see. We keep on saying you're the best team. So really it is Super Bowl or bust. But this team also believes in that. And I think that we're seeing a different approach because they have the right leaders in the locker room and saying, we're going to attack it each and every day. So I'm with you. I mean, I cannot wait for this team, for this season to start. And again, it's like fingers crossed, knock on wood, like hopefully the injury bug, because that can destroy a lot of things. And I hope that we don't see it, because the sky's the limit for this team. It really is.
The Eagles will have a bad loss this year. I mean, let's just get it straight.
Sure, and it happens to every team, just about.
Sure, last year basically didn't. I mean, the Commander game was close. They had a lead in the fourth quarter. The Saints game, you didn't have Jalen Hurts. The Cowboy game that they lost in Jerry World was back and forth. They didn't have a bad loss. They had close losses. They'll have a bad loss this year where they lose by double digits, 10, 14, 21. If it's the Chiefs or if it's the Bills, I expect it. But
I would consider the Commanders game a bad loss last year. I mean,
but it was still close, right? A bad loss means you're not in it in the fourth quarter, in my opinion.
Okay,
if you want to,
that's good. That's the disclaimer.
That's my definition.
My opinion is, if you lose to a team, you have no business losing to,
fair,
who has a starting quarterback that shouldn't be winning that game. But I see your point. When you turn the ball over, what is it, 5 times that game?
It was a lot. It was a lot.
You're not going to win. But yes, it's the NFL. Like, great teams lose every once in a while to a team. So I agree. I think there will be one, and I don't know who it's going to be, but you'll lose to a team. And if it's early, especially, you're going to have a lot of haters about, oh, hang on, this is Jalen. This is the new Jalen. Hang on. He's not able to handle the pressure, but I think that he'll be fine through the adversity. I would like to see us start out great, because as we know, that gauntlet of the schedule starts in the middle of that the middle of the season.
Yeah.
And it's the 6 or 7 game stretch, especially, that is going to be just absolutely brutal. But I do think that we're going to be okay. I think we both have shared our rough expectation for the season. I feel like it'll be like 11 wins, maybe 12. That's just kind of the spot where I'm at right now. But I think that's a good season, right? Sure. You're going to lose one game that you probably have no business losing. If you split with the Cowboys, I'd love it. I'd love if we beat Dallas twice. That'd be fantastic. But it just seems to happen where we split the games with Dallas, and then there's a couple other games, because we have some really tough ones. Whether it's going to KC, I'd love to beat them there, but I'd rather beat them in the Super Bowl. So if we lose in KC and we play them again this season in the Super Bowl, I'll take that win. But there's a lot of tough games on there.
Remember Chiefs early last year, they lost on the road to Matt Ryan's Colts. That did happen, and everyone freaked out, and then the Chiefs were just fine. So Alfonso wants to go watch Philadelphia beat up on Dallas and Jerry rolled 20 entries into our ticket giveaway. I got the first round when I win. We love that. We love that. Yeah. Should give him 100 entries for saying that. He'd give us a couple beers while we're in there. Just kidding. We're not doing that.
I'll do that.
We're not picking favorites. First round is on
But
Alfonso.
if you do get it, then I'll buy the second round. There you go.
There you go. Philadelphia versus Dallas and Jerry World. It is going to be lit. We're 99% sure we're both going to that one. So we're going to try to go to at least an away game and a home game, maybe a playoff game. Home game we don't know yet, but of course, any game that you want to go to if you win, whether we're there or not, we will be getting you the ticket if you win the giveaway. 10 for Maurice. Training camp will be interesting this year, no doubt. I think it will be. I just wonder how much what's the word? How much info they're going to give us, especially early on these camp battles. Because when I see Christian Ellis starting at linebacker on 7-on-7s and OTAs, my head immediately goes, what are we doing here? Do they mean this? Is this true? Or are they trying to just see if he can do it? Right? Because that's a lot of training camp. You see Jalen Hurts throws 4 interceptions at training camp. This happened last year, I think, or 4 interceptions in a practice. And you don't realize they're playing and scheming to only throw to one side. And so people are sitting on routes and he's trying to force throws to get receivers some extra reps. It's so hard to take fact from fiction away at training camp. I think that's going to be the most interesting part because there are going to be a lot of sideline reporters who get to be at training camp. They're a football field away. And they're doing this with binoculars, and they see, oh, Christian Ellis interception. Oh, and then they start tweeting, Christian Ellis looks really good today. I feel great. And we are like, yes, we get excited. And then it's like, okay, what's
because we're starved for content. Yeah. We need something, give us something from it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's always overreactions, probably more so from OTAs than it is training camp, but still, there's overreactions quite a bit in training camp. But I'll be interested to see, there's some familiarity, not a whole lot because, there wasn't a huge sample size, but there's still some familiarity between Nakobe Dean and Christian Ellis. Like, remember, they've played on the field together. So in live action, not just practices or anything like that. So, it's a very small sample size, but if Christian Ellis is the athlete and competes and wins out for the starting job over Nicholas Morrow, maybe, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if, we're seeing some tweets and some reports of, oh man, hey, Christian Ellis getting first team reps. They're just exploring things. They're trying to figure out things and who's going to be the starting linebacker. Right. And I think we'll see that with a lot of positions, that we'll get hyped for probably Sidney Brown. They'll be like, oh, hey, he's finally getting some reps at first team. What does this mean? I don't think that it'll be a for sure deal probably until I think a first couple preseason games. They're going to need to see it in practice and then also in live action too. But we're looking for that type of hype. And, once we start seeing it, it's hard to not jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, this guy's going to be the starter. He's going to be the one.
Danto Dragon, 2 entries here. Nobody hold up a partner boomer sooner. I beloved LOL. Oh, believe LOL. Okay. Well, Josh and I both went to Baylor. We are not boomer sooners here in this house. We will still give you 2 entries though. We are not, even though Jalen did go to technically Oklahoma and he came to, were you at the Oklahoma Baylor game where he came back? Were you there? You were there. Yeah.
Ripped our hearts out.
That was rough. I hated it.
We were up 28-3.
Yes.
And as soon as we were up 28-3, my first thought was the Atlanta Falcons. Because 28-3 seems to be just a weird score that you never want to be beating a team by anymore, because then they come roaring back and beat us. I was like, that's ridiculous. I thought, oh, we got this. We're up by plenty now. They're not playing great. And Jalen Hurts and the Sooners, they got us.
One thing on training camp, and again, I just try to prep people because headlines are so flashy these days, whether it's YouTube videos in all caps or tweets from people that obviously are at training camp. I've been to 2 NFL training camps in my lifetime. I've been to Carolina Panthers training camp, and I've been to Atlanta Falcons training camp. And what you have to realize about training camp, watching it as a member of the media like I was, most of the time you are in a little corner, in the media corner, under a little tent, and you'll have special teams in front of you. And over on the other football field, because they have multiple ones all around, are where they're actually playing. And there are people, literally media members like this with binoculars, trying to get a story for the day because they got to have their Panther camp update, and they have no idea what's going on. Carolina Panther camp, when I was there for the first time, this was back during the Ron Rivera, Luke Kuechly, and Cam Newton era. So they had Chris McCaffrey. I was with the local radio station, and we started being able to walk through it all. So I was standing on the sideline next to Julius Peppers as they were getting ready for training camp, and James Bradbury was a rookie. We were watching him warm up, and then they went, "Are you with the Panthers?" And I was just an intern at a radio station. I was like, "No." They say, "Oh, you're supposed to be over there." And so I been standing.
You should have said
practice.
yes.
I know, but I was wearing just like a normal shirt. So I was standing watching practice from the sideline for 45 minutes. They found out I wasn't a member of the media. They then sent me to the tent. You go to the media tent, and literally you are football fields away from Cam Newton. And the same basic thing goes for the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons were a little closer. You're more up on a little hill at Flowery Branch. But the idea that you can really know for sure what's going on, it's a little bit of a stretch. There are plenty of times where you can tweet out that Jalen Hurts threw a dime to Quez Watkins. He caught it in double coverage, and we get excited. But just be ready for the training camp headlines that don't come true. I think the positions that really need preseason games to prove me are offensive, defensive line, obviously, and linebacker. Those are two of the big ones where you can look good in training camp, bad on the field. Now, wide receiver is the opposite. If you third string quarterback Ian Book trying to throw to Devon Allen versus Jalen Hurts throwing to Devon Allen, he could look better in camp versus better in preseason. But especially linebacker in this battle, I really want to see them in training camp, in preseason, like we saw with Nakobe Dean, where he was really getting some nice plays and some nice moves, not against the other Eagle teammates in 11-on-11s.
I agree. Yes. Because we didn't get a whole lot of hype from Nakobe Dean. That was the one thing coming from OTAs and 7-on-7s is like, oh, we're hearing all these other names, but you don't hear Nakobe Dean. And again, it's like, okay, let's pump the brakes. It's just 7-on-7. There's not a whole lot of live action. And I think that, to your point, what we're going to see more and be impressed with, I believe, is going to be the preseason, because then it's live action, full speed, and you're going to see Nakobe Dean and being able to read the offense and make transitions or make adjustments on the defense. And I think that's going to be his expertise, his forte. Like, he's studied, he knows the defense. Yeah. He's an engineering major. He's incredibly smart. So I think he will take that extra step because he's going to have learned from this past season, and he's the obviously green dot wearer on the defense now with Sean Desai. So I think that we'll see that. But yeah, you can't watch a training camp, definitely not a 7-on-7 in OTAs, and be, oh yeah, he's going to be great wearing the green dot, because there's nothing that goes on with it. So I'm with you too. Once we get it in live action for preseason, I'll be excited to see it. I'm also interested in the safety battle. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think that Sidney Brown has the potential to play himself into a starting job. I don't know if it's by the time the season starts. Yeah. But, we'll see if there's some injuries or something that happens. But I'm interested with where he's at, because the Eagles have kind of taken, I guess they gave him a little bit of second team reps the first day of OTAs. And then they pulled him all the way back to third team reps that he was taking. So, maybe it's just like, all right, let's be cautious. We're not going to overwhelm him here. He's got a lot to learn, just kind of catch up to the speed of the game. But, if you go through training camp, then you get some action in preseason, he could shine. And all of a sudden, maybe you're talking about a little bit more of a battle than possibly people realize.
There's always a chance. Now, I'll be the, opposite voice here. I don't think Sidney Brown starts. I think it's Edmonds and Reed Blankenship. And I don't think Christian Ellis starts either. I still think Nicholas Morrow was signed for a reason. And I think he has a really good chance to play. And whether Ellis just has more time in the system, and so he started in those 7-on-7s, who knows? But if I had to guess right now, of the position battles that we are going to see, I think it's Blankenship and Edmonds. I think it's Dean and Morrow. And then I think when you go to the wide receiver, I think it will be Watkins 3, Zacchaeus 4, and I kind of think the 5 spot is going to be Britton Covey. I think Covey for sure makes the roster as a returner, but I could see him being mixed in as the 5, wide receiver in this offense and running some routes from the slot. Nothing crazy, but I think he beats out guys like Devon Allen in terms of depth chart. I think he beats out guys like a Greg Ward, and I think that in the end, he really was at least reliable last year when you needed him for kick return. If he can be reliable in terms of receiving across the middle, he has a chance to make the roster as well. So that is my July 5th guesstimation on what are probably the 3 big battles going into training camp, I think. Linebacker, receiver 3 and 4, and safety.
It's a lock. There it is. Guarantee it. July 5th, locks for the roster. No, I mean, for the most part, I agree there. But again, to the point of the Sidney Brown, and this is us just spitballing and throwing ideas out there, but I feel like it'll be either. I don't think both, but I think either Christian Ellis or Sidney Brown wins the starting job. Now, if I had to pick one between, I feel like Christian Ellis is more likely. But I hear you. And I've said this on many shows, and it's like, people hear the first comment that I make about Christian Ellis and go, "Oh,
Yes,
you're
they
hating on
do.
Morris."
Yes, they
I'm not
do.
hating on Morrow. I think that he could be good. I'm just saying that I think there's a possibility with Christian Ellis having been on this team, showing some things that if he wins out, you've got a little bit of a taller, more physical, or I guess taller or bigger linebacker who
Yeah.
hopefully can be better in coverage because he showed some of that prowess. Again, it's only 7-on-7s, but to be able to pick some balls off from Jalen Hurts, if you have that on the defense and say, hey, Nakobe's going to be here to clean up the middle, he's going to be the guy to go and be the headhunter in the backfield, get all these tackles. Christian Ellis can get some of that, but also his coverage skills are going to be better, and he can be great in zone coverage as well. I think there could be a possibility there, but again, I'm not knocking it. It's not going to be like, oh gosh, we're in trouble if Morrow's the starter, because I agree with the staff is going to take care of it. So the only way that, I'll be like, oh man, maybe it wasn't as good as if how he goes out and gets somebody, and that wouldn't be out of question. But then it's like, okay, fine. That they saw what they needed to in camp. The guys didn't live up to the hype, and then we go and get someone.
Luffy says the defense is going to be like the 2000s Ravens. Interesting. This is a whole different segue that we had to at least acknowledge is how good will this defense be? Because Philadelphia's had good defenses. The 2017 defense was better, especially during the regular season, than we expected. I mean, really, in the postseason, they struggled against Brady. They did well against the Falcons and against the Vikings, but I wouldn't consider them like an all-timer Eagle defense. They were very good, but they're not all-timer. They're not like I think the 04 defense during that Super Bowl run was very, very good with Dawkins. I think there were some other defenses that were pretty darn good. This one has a chance, but I'm not sure I'm going to say, 2000 Ravens, we're talking about like one of the greatest defenses of our lifetime. I mean, you would have to have mega seasons from Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, and then one of the three starting secondary players, like a huge Darius Slay season, or, a huge James Bradbury season, or a huge, safety season, whoever it is. That's the issue. They're going to be great. I'm not saying they're not. I think they'll be a top 5 defense in the league. But you said 2000s Ravens, Luffy. And to be that, we're expecting Nolan Smith to be like 8 sacks and Jalen Carter have 7 sacks and Josh Sweat gets to 13, and it gets a little crazy. It gets a little bit like that was a good defense.
I'd love it. Yeah. I mean, I'd love it. And I guess you don't say that, it's impossible for, anything is impossible there. But yeah, to your point, it's like, I mean, the Ravens, that defense, I mean, historic, your offense doesn't have to do much. The defense can practically win you the game. And while I think that the defense will win some games for this team,
sure,
I mean, that's not the makeup of this group. Let's be honest. Like the Eagles offense here is so much more potent and powerful than the Ravens offense back in the 2000s. So, you're going to play to your strengths, and not to say that the defense is a weakness, but at the same time, you're not saying, well, we need to, kind of manage the game a little bit and just slowly march our way down the field and be methodical because we need to keep the defense fresh. It's going to be, defense wins some games for us, sure, but I think the offense a lot of times is going to get into a shootout, and all of a sudden you're going to have to win it that way. But I don't know if you necessarily say it's going to be that historic Ravens deep. If it is, fantastic. That's great. We're going to just cakewalk all the way to the Super Bowl and win it, which I mean, I'd be in favor of, but I don't know. The new coordinator, you got some positions where you got question marks. I do hope and think that they'll play well. But I don't know that I'm ready to just go out there and say, well, they're ready to be this historic defense of all time.
Pretty good. Donto Dragon, 2 more. Love y'all boys. Stay safe off to the gym. What are you hitting tonight, Donto?
Appreciate that.
Let's get some legs going.
Yeah, is it leg day? Don't skip leg. Yeah, don't skip leg day.
Do it for us. Do it for us.
Although the glamour muscles are,
hey, that's true.
They're tempting.
They're pretty important.
Can't knock you for that.
It's lake boat season, and no one cares about the legs when you're on the boat. You can take the shirt off. It's good stuff. So, Michael says, "What do you think is who's going to think is the more snaps rookie, Nolan Smith or Derek Barnett?" I think it'll be closer than people think. I mean, most people in the chat would say Nolan Smith for sure. I think Derek Barnett is going to get a lot of snaps this year and be a part of this roster. I know there was a recent article saying Eagles most likely trade candidates, internally, and Barnett was one of them, sure. But if the Eagles themselves don't like Derek Barnett, some other team's not going to like him either. Either he's going to be released and some team will sign him for pennies on the dollar, or he's going to make the roster like I think that he will. I don't think any team is going to call Philadelphia and say, hey, do you want this 6th-round draft pick for Derek Barnett? We really need the 5th best pass rusher on your team, right? It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
So I think, though, he's going to be pretty good, and I think he's going to get a decent amount of snaps because Brandon Graham is getting older and can't exactly play 85% of the snaps like you'd want him to when he was 25, right? So I think that you're talking about Smith getting less snaps because Reddick exists and Barnett getting more snaps because BG exists. And because, again, people talk about Smith and Reddick on the field at the same time, that's going to be few and far between. That's like a NASCAR package. That's not a every down package. It's going to be different. It's not going to be as common as you think. So I love Nolan Smith, but I think BG gets more snaps at least early until Nolan starts to prove himself.
Yeah, I could see that. It's I mean, you know me, I would want Nolan Smith to get a lot more snaps. So, but realistically, if I'm thinking about it, yes, I think that there's going to be a decent amount of snaps for Derek Barnett. There's going to be a healthy rotation within that. The question is like, is Barnett gonna, is he gonna have too many penalties? Is he gonna have those mistakes at times? I think that he can get beyond it. I really do. I think that, he had some critical errors at the most missed opportune times, but I think that he can get beyond that. He can play well. But I agree, it's a rookie coming in. Now, if Nolan Smith is just I mean, blowing everyone's expectations out of the water. You say training camp, preseason, start of the season, it's like, oh my gosh, we have a freak, which I think they believe, but it's like you still need to see it. And all of a sudden you're like, we got to get him on the field. Then maybe so, but I think as of right now, probably even in their minds, they're going, you know what, we're going to play him a decent amount, but it'll be a little bit more of a healthy rotation between those. So we'll see. Again, my personal preference would be let's put him out there as many times as possible. It's just I give him all the experience that he can, but I know we need to get the rotation in. People need to play.
It's going to happen. There'll be plenty of rotation, especially on this defensive line, and plenty of opportunities. If you play well, you're going to get more snaps. And people always say Barnett penalties and he's makes mistakes. That was on previous Eagle teams. This team with this expectations and these goals in Philadelphia, if he starts to get a couple consistently, they'll lock him down real quick. Like the players will police themselves heavily on this football team to where I don't think we have much to worry about there, but it should be fine. Luffy says, should the Sixers go and sign Bull? No, absolutely not. They should go get Damian Lillard by any means necessary. I know that Damian Lillard doesn't want to play the Sixers, he wants to be a Miami Heat, but I would do anything. People don't want to trade Maxey.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would to get Damian Lillard to have a chance to go win a title. I don't think Maxey at the moment gives you a chance to win a title this season. Now, Maxey has always been this, wait. But if I could get Dame, I would get Dame. There's your Sixer take for 5 seconds.
There you go. I mean, he's a stud.
They need somebody.
Superstar power. That's kind of usually what wins it, not always, but usually. So I don't know. I mean, if you're gonna make a move, I guess, but I don't know what to make of did you see the 4th of July party? Was it who was it? The Fanatics CEO?
Was it the white party?
The white party? Yeah. It had
I saw that
almost
Harden
everyone's who's who. Yeah, it had Harden, Embiid, and Tobias Harris were all there. So they're saying, it looks like they're gonna run it back. Yeah, yep.
The net worth of that party, if you didn't see it, you got to Google.
Oh gosh,
yeah. Like it's like it was called a white shirt party. They all wore white outfits.
White
outfits on the beach or something like that. I saw an Instagram reel today. Watches worn by celebrities at that party. Everybody's watch was like DJ Khaled had a $7.8 million watch on, just chilling at that party. Harden had a $170,000 watch. There was some money there. You and I at that party, they would be like, "Who are these people? Are you kidding me?"
We couldn't even serve orders to people. Are you kidding? We couldn't even be in the door.
Not at all.
Gosh,
not at all. So here you go. Michael says Max is only 22 though. In his prime yet. Second best scoring option. Yeah, see, I don't know. We'll see. David says, hey, guys, love both your channels. You get a member of Thomas's channel. Love your content. I appreciate that, David. My question is, how do you both feel the wide receiver three position? The Eagles make a move for a wide receiver 3. We both feel pretty good. I just don't see... I just don't see who you go make a move for, right? DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a Patriot or a Titan. That's basically guaranteed. Jeremy Fowler had a report on that earlier today on SportsCenter. At 6 o'clock, I was watching before we jumped on here. He actually seems to be leaning towards the Titans, by the way, which is wild to think, but Titans and Patriots in the final 2. There isn't a receiver to go get. And I think we underrate Olamide Zaccheaus because he was young during the final years of Matt Ryan and then was being thrown to by Marcus Mariota last year, which he's a fan now. He's one of us, but you watched the Falcon film last year. I live in Atlanta. Can't throw the football very well. It's like, how good's Drake London and Kyle Pitts for the Atlanta Falcons? We don't know. They haven't had a quarterback. So I do think that there is an argument for Zaccheaus being a lot better than we realize in this offense, especially when you're getting the 3rd or 4th best cover corner covering you at all times because they can't bear to give Smith and A.J. Brown, any sort of leeway. But I think Quez Watkins is working hard. I think the team wants Quez Watkins to win that job. overall, players and coaches. So I think you got 2 players for 4 slots, and it's going to be just fine.
I do too. Yep, I agree with you. We've had a number of conversations on it as well, and
Yeah.
I think that, again, I know that there's a lot you could knock on Quez Watkins and say he's made some mistakes too, and there's obviously the fumbles and drops in the Super Bowl, but it's not a crazy amount. I don't think it's the quantity of mistakes, but it's really just the, I don't know, I guess for lack of a better term, the quality or the moments that you actually have those mistakes in. They're crucial moments. So it's mental, and if he can actually finally get past that, you see that he has the athleticism, he has the ability to kind of take that offense to the next step. You've got a burner who can, take the top off the defense and helps AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Goddard, all those guys get open. So whether you're actually passing to him or using him as a decoy, it really helps him have him on the field. And what, to your point there too, I think Zaccheaus is going to be an asset that people are probably undervaluing right now. I think whether it's getting him involved in the screen game or quick passes, and you're changing up the way that the defenses have to guard Jalen and the rest of the offense, I think that's a wrinkle that no one's seen before, right? I mean, he's a new weapon into this offense. So if Brian Johnson can call up some plays, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, we haven't seen this before. And I think that he could do really well. So I'm with you too. I don't know that you go out and get anybody. There's no one that I'm interested in for the most part. Especially either whether it's how much you're going to pay someone, if there's a, like guy like a D-Hop or something like that. But even some of the other free agents out there, I'm like, you know what? We got the guys. I think the camaraderie, the morale, the chemistry of the group. And there's a lot of depth, like we mentioned, like we got 10 wide receivers on the roster, if not more. So to beat out that competition there, I say you're fine. If it can't, for some reason, you say, hey, you know what? 8 of these guys can't play football, then okay, maybe see who still is a free agent. But I don't think that you go and do anything at wide receiver 3.
I think if you're in a 12-person fantasy football league and you're in the final round of your NFL draft and you have 4 receivers, you want a 5th, Zaccheaus isn't a bad option, because it is a scenario where one of the top 2 guys goes down, he instantly gets elevated and gets a lot more snaps, and I think he could play sometimes. I think if you're in the waiver wire week 8 and everyone's on a bye except for the Eagle receivers and you don't have any of them, you could pick up a lot of Zaccheaus, and he might get you 6 for 70 and be one of the weeks he gets one of his 5 touchdowns this year, So that's that. I think that's fine. We can't have 6 of the best players at every single position. Like we have, 3 of the best offensive linemen in the entire National Football League. We have 3 of the best defensive linemen. We have 2 of the best corners. We have 2 of the best receivers. You can't have 4 of the best receivers. We can only have so many talented people here and there. So I just don't see it as a need. The only need Philadelphia possibly has on the roster right now is linebacker, and I don't think Philadelphia knows if they need one yet, or they would have made a move. I think, as we've said many times, they're waiting for training camp. They're waiting for preseason. They're waiting to see if Christian Ellis pops, or Davion Taylor, or Sean Bradley, or Nicholas Morrow, who led the Bears in tackles last year. They're waiting. They're probably not even thinking about it right now. Like, this is probably the one few times where Howie Roseman's on vacation. Now, we'll never see a picture of him on vacation, but they're on vacation right now, because 20 days from today, all the fun stops and your 70-hour weeks start if you're in the front office. Like, it gets wild very quick. So I just don't see them being like, we got to calculate which linebacker we need to go get right now on July 5th. I mean, it's just, come on, enjoy your time. You got to see him in action. Yeah, and then let's see what we have in-house. And remember, the Eagles could have the 17th best linebacking core in the entire National Football League, and they still could have a great defense because the front and back side are absolutely stacked. Completely. And Howie thinks that linebackers aren't that important, and he always has.
Right. Completely. If he felt terrible, he wouldn't be, and we're just, we're predicting, I guess, or assuming that he's on vacation. But if he didn't feel like it was great, he wouldn't be on vacation. He'd be making calls, and all of a sudden you've got a deal getting done. So it still could happen before training camp. I would be shocked. I think you would be shocked. Everyone would be shocked if a deal got done before training camp, because I do think he feels good about the roster going to training camp. Let's see how they play. Let's see how they perform. Maybe even have a first preseason game or even second preseason game, because C.J. Gardner-Johnson didn't come over until August. Yes. So you've got plenty of time here. And then maybe you make an acquisition, but I'm with you.
And look what Howie did last year. You mentioned C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They got to training camp. They didn't like their safeties. Kayvon Wallace hasn't elevated to where he needed to be. Reed Blankenship was too green to give him the green light, and they went and made a move. And then, again, once Howie realized they were a Super Bowl team, which I don't think they realized in training camp, I think they realized a couple weeks into the season, he said, we need some rotational help on the defensive tackle spot just to make sure with Jordan Davis going down, and he plugged 2 holes in bringing Linval Joseph and Dominican Sue. This year, he knows it's a Super Bowl team. He will not hold back if the linebacker spot is going to keep them from making a championship. I think he'll make the move. It's fine. Luffy just said, trade deadline 2 here. If we extend Swift, Penny stays healthy, Sermon plays good. Would you trade Kenny in a package, try and acquire a Patrick Queen-like player? I saw this earlier on Twitter. They're not trading Kenny Gainwell. Gainwell's their favorite running back. Now, they like Swift and Penny. Gainwell's their favorite running back. He's in-house. I mean, he's a try and true Eagle player in the system, and they proved that to you in the postseason last year with how many carries he got in big moments. They're not trading Kenny Gainwell. Not a chance. As I've said before, they're going to keep 4 of those running backs. Sermon's the odd man out. If there was one that they could move on from, a.k.a. cut, it's Penny, because they didn't give him enough money to make him worth staying. But more than likely, those 4 are all going to be there.
Yeah, I would be shocked too, because again, with the way the team is built with the offensive line, they're going to run the football a ton. But like you mentioned, you've got guys like Swift, like Penny, who have injury histories. And so I don't think that you're going to say, oh, hey, let's say Swift's playing great. I don't think that it's still like, oh, we're going to extend him. I think they could extend him, but I don't think that goes, oh, we extend him, let's just go ahead and get rid of Gainwell. I think we're going to keep this a running back by committee. So you're going to keep a guy who you really love in the organization and then try to figure something out on the back end. But if you're not liking where your linebacker position is, right around the trade deadline, I don't think it's really as much of, hey, you're going to give up assets as it is you're going to give away a draft pick or two, because you have plenty next year. Yes. So it's like, you know what? Hey, it's not even really mortgaging the future. It's just kind of even in the playing field, because you have tons of draft picks.
Phil Smoke says, yo, what up, Thomas? What up, Phil? How you doing? David Christensen throwing in a $5 entry into our ticket giveaway. No comment here, David. If you want to say something, you can, or you just silently enter 5 more times the ticket giveaway. It's up to you. So there you go. There's your entry. Troy Smith says Swift is the starter. He will be the starter, but the Eagles have not had a true starting running back in a long time. I mean, Sanders was the starter last year, and they barely used him the second half of the season. Was he injured? Who knows? Excuse me. But speaking of which, I forgot about Sanders. Sanders said dream team this past offseason. We freaked out for like 3 days and then realized, oh, he's right, because the team was that good. So going back to the little dream season conversation. So it makes it, it is what it is. All right, we are going to wrap up here very, very quickly, probably 2 more minutes, because I have a work meeting to run to, and Josh's computer is dying.
My computer's dying.
It's going to work out really, really well. So I think you get 2 minutes of battery left, Josh, for a couple more questions.
Hopefully.
If it doesn't, and you pop away.
Your Mac will sleep soon unless plugged into a power outlet. So I'll give you 2 minutes if I can.
Shorter. Yeah. It is what it is. Cool Rain says he got Swift in his fantasy football league. Swift will be McCoy 2.0. He won't be McCoy. He's not a shifty, but he could be good. Swift is going to be in any fantasy league that has multiple Eagle fans, like you and me and my league together, because you're joining my league this year. And of course, we're going to do multiple leagues for the fans.
That'll be fun.
Swift is going to be like a top 3 round pick. Everybody who's an Eagle fan is going to take him so darn early. And it's a good choice, but there's still going to be a committee factor to it. I wouldn't want Swift as RB1. I want him as RB2 on my fantasy football league. If he's RB1, I've done something wrong in my draft and missed out on some true RB1 running backs, in my opinion.
I agree. Although, as an Eagles fan, it's hard to pass up having a player like that. And I think that, like, I don't know, the trying to be a realist, I do agree with that sentiment of like, I don't want Swift as the RB1, but I think he has potential to surprise and all of a sudden be like, wow, it actually was a good RB1. And it comes back to the report, I think we've all seen it now, but Jeremy Fowler, I think was the one, or no, it was James Palmer, who was saying that the Eagles plan to use Swift more than the Lions did. And the Lions had 50 in the passing game. The Lions had 52 or averaged with Swift 52 catches a season. So, I mean, I don't know exactly. And I did a show on it. I did a short on it as well. So it's, I don't know where there's going to be all the passes and the balls to go around, and you've got only so many mouths to feed. But if they actually do that, I'm in favor of it, because it keeps Hurts healthy, keeps him upright. You're not asking him in near as many run designs run for him, but throw the ball, dump it off to Swift, where it's screen games, get him out in space, actually line him up as receiver and try to see if a linebacker can cover him. If that happens, I mean, it's not crazy, and I've been called crazy, but I don't think it's crazy to say all of a sudden, hey, he's got 60 or 70 catches this season. And then you might be talking about, well, hey, maybe he was an RB1 category. But I agree, just realistically looking at it, running back committee here, I don't think that he's your RB1.
Very real possibility, especially if Zacchaeus and Watkins disappoint a little bit. Let's just say that as we get started the season. All right, Josh's computer's out of battery, and I have to run as well, so we are out of time. Be sure to tune in the next week on Wednesday, as we're going to continue this all the way through the season, and probably a lot longer than that. So for Josh Davis, I'm Thomas Mott, Wednesday Linc Live. See you guys.
See ya.